Okay, everybody, we've still got folks joining, but I think it's time to get things rolling here. Good morning and welcome to the second day of InterVision's Cloud Strategy Summit. My name is Christopher Cruz and I'm the Director of Cloud Marketing here at InterVision. And I'd really like to say thank you to both our returning guests from day one and our new guests here for day two. I think today's conversation is going to be very insightful. I've had the luxury of hearing a lot of it firsthand in our dry runs and our previews. So I'm really confident about what we're sharing today, and I think it'll be worth the while of you carving out time to make for it. But we very sincerely appreciate you carving out that time. I know you could be doing just about anything right now and attending a virtual event. If you're anything like me, you're probably feeling a little fatigued from that, but we certainly appreciate you carving out that time. Before I get things rolling here, I'd like to just quickly introduce InterVision for those of you who weren't at the first day and maybe haven't had the chance to work with us in the past. InterVision is a leading strategic service provider focused on helping IT leaders run, grow, and transform their business with a comprehensive portfolio of cloud services, solutions, and technology. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how we're taking that portfolio of cloud services, solutions, and technology and applying it to help our clients do more as it's related to remote work enablement, to secure remote work, to create more efficient operations, and to help folks save money. So that's what we're really going to be digging into today, is that section of our capabilities. But just wanted to take a moment to introduce InterVision. So yeah, before we jump into the conversation today, I had some housekeeping items I wanted to cover. First and foremost, I'd love to hear from you guys throughout this session. If you have questions, if you have something you'd like to touch on more, if you'd want us to dig in, please use your chat functionality. Yesterday, the audience was really great about that, but everyone was chatting just directly to me. When you go in to send a chat, if you want to just go ahead and say to all panelists or to all attendees as well, we'll all see it, and that way we can all stay engaged in the conversation. But I'd love to hear from you as we go through this with any questions, comments you have. So please stay engaged and reach out to us that way. And then secondly, for those of you who want to continue the conversation after you've heard the story here today and maybe want to learn a little bit more about InterVision's cloud portfolio and how it might be able to serve your business, we will have a representative from InterVision reach out to you. If you don't currently have a sales rep, we will have a representative reach out. But if not, your sales rep would love to hear from you and get that conversation rolling. And lastly here, for those of you who have joined us today, we do have some incentives that I'd like to talk about. First, we are giving everyone who's in attendance today a $25 e-gift card to cover your lunch. That will be coming early next week. We would have loved to have sent it instantly, but it just takes a little time for those things to process. So you'll be getting that very early next week to cover your lunch expenses. And then at the end of the day, we will be giving a raffle for Amazon Echo Show. So for those of you stick around for the entire day, you'll get an opportunity to get a pretty cool little gadget there. All right, so talk a little bit about today's content. And again, for those of you who joined us yesterday, this will be a little bit of a repeat, but for those of you who are new, the way we kind of put together the agenda for both day one and day two of our Cloud Strategy Summit was really by going out and interviewing IT leaders across the country and to get a better understanding of where they are today in their cloud adoption strategy, where they hope to be going forward, and the challenges, the risks, the opportunities, the goals that are along that journey to really understand, where there are some commonalities. And obviously, with the onset of COVID in 2020, things have changed dramatically in terms of, the way folks are working and learning. And it's been a huge task on IT leaders to adopt that. And as I was putting this content together and sort of listening to all the folks that I've spoken with, it just really dawned on me, we always know how essential IT and technology is to business, but without the work that all of you have done, this country would have been at a complete standstill, right? It's amazing to see how you've been able to sort of lead this transition to remote work. And I've heard so many incredible stories of how folks have adapted And it really comes down to the work that you all are doing as IT leaders. So we certainly appreciate that. And it's pretty remarkable. But for the content today, we're going to open up with a conversation between Sam Nassar and Jamie Lee. And Sam's at TaskUs, and he's done some pretty incredible things leading the charge to helping them build a resilient remote workforce with all the challenges that 2020 has brought so that they can continue to be out there in the forefront of what they do. And then following on to that, Kevin Barker here from InterVision is going to be talking a little bit about securing and optimizing remote enablement. And he's going to be sharing some use cases as well through that conversation. And then finally, we're going to close things out with our raffle and a little bit of closing remarks from our team here. And again, we've got a really great list of speakers here today. One of the things that I wanted to make sure we did and challenged our organization with was making sure that we just weren't talking about what InterVision's doing in the market related to cloud, but really hearing from some of our clients and other thought leaders in the space to understand comprehensively, where is the market, where is it going, what are folks doing to adapt and strategize with their cloud operations. So today, Sam's going to be joining us, and I'm really excited about this conversation that we're moving on to today because Sam and what he's doing at TaskUs is really helping his organization stay focused on being a people-first organization and using the cloud to enable that. And I was doing just a little bit of research. I want to pull up some notes here because it's pretty remarkable. TaskUs is listed as Glassdoor's 100 best places to work. They're also listed in USA Today's best company cultures and best companies for women by Comparably. So it's pretty obvious that they're walking the talk when it comes to being a people-first company. And Sam's going to share a little bit about how they're using cloud technology to really enable that approach. And Jamie's going to be interviewing them. So I'm going to turn the conversation over to you, Sam and Jamie, and really looking forward to what you have to share with the audience here today.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, Jamie.
Thank you, Chris, and good morning. And I, too, just want to welcome everybody, if it's day 2 for you or day 1. As I said yesterday, I hope everybody's safe and healthy. And this is, I want to echo completely what Chris said. This is my favorite part of doing these types of summits because it's really the Q&A. It's really where you get to learn from your peers. You get to listen to what they've done, how they've impacted their business, and really it's designed for you. So while we'll go through a set of questions, feel free to use that chat because it's really your session that we're doing this for. This isn't just, Sam and I talking as much as we're guiding the story and then the conversation. And then in the end, he's open to a lot of questions. So thank you, Sam, and welcome. Look forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Jamie. Good morning.
Good morning. So, let's get started here. You ready? Let's go. Introduce us to TaskUs and what you've done here who TaskUs is, but maybe even before that is just how did you get to TaskUs kind of just on your own and then dive into TaskUs. So it kind of sets the stage for why you looked at TaskUs and why you're there and what you enjoy about it.
Well, before I introduce TaskUs to you, I can give you a little bit about how I came to join TaskUs. Normally, when you decide to make a move, you always want your move to be the next big move. And you always look to choose to work for a company that has a culture that they honor and they live every single day. And, just like anybody else, you do your homework, you do research, you talk to the people that you knew. And then you make your call. And I just could not find anything, online, from the people themselves at TaskUs that would lead me to believe that TaskUs would not be the best company to join. And for that reason, I joined TaskUs, so we pride ourselves with our culture and our core values. And, the way we talk about this every single day, we don't just have our core values on a piece of paper. We live them every single day. We live them in our meetings every single day. So that's what really TaskUs is. So whatever you read online, you will see it. if you are part of the TaskUs family. So let me introduce TaskUs to you in a little bit more details. You know, TaskUs is a leading outsourcing provider that provides back office support and customer care solutions to over 100 of the largest, most exciting tech companies and digital startups in the Silicon Valley. These companies trust us with their daily business processes, freeing them to focus on true innovation. We are the disruptors behind the disruptors and the innovators behind the innovators. At least 5 apps in your phone are powered by TaskUs, and I am certain they are your favorite apps. Next slide. Like I said, and like Chris mentioned earlier, we are a frontline first company. We use those words every single day, and we don't use them loosely. We take them very, very seriously. We have over 20,000 employees globally. We've been expanding at a very, very rapid rate. We are located now in the US, Mexico, Greece, India, Taiwan, and the Philippines. And currently we are in the process of building our site in Dublin, Ireland. The secret behind our teammates' success lies within our teammates. They are one of the happiest employees in the world, as shown in our eNPS score. And it's not just a one-time score. It's the ongoing score that we see come from our teammates. We have a very low turnover rates, and our employees are the ones that refer people back to TaskUs. We believe that investing in our employee experience attracts the best talent, which delivers ridiculously good results and leads to happy customers, entices clients, and satisfy shareholders. There are no silos at TaskUs, and regardless of the department you work in, IT, sales, and whatnot, we are proud to be part of the company. We are Platinum accredited by investors and people, and we received the Global Employer of the Year recognition in 2018. Previously named by Glassdoor as one of the top 40 best workplaces, recognized by comparably as the #1 best company in Los Angeles, and named for best company leadership, best company for women, and best company for work-life balance. Can't forget about our culture. You know, we definitely won awards about best culture, diversity, employee happiness, and company outlook. Our CEO, Bryce Middock, was also recognized last year for being one of the best CEOs and best CEOs for women. I hope this gives you a little bit of a flavor about who really TaskUs is.
Yeah, I don't think. I think if you miss the culture point there, then I'm not sure what else there's you could say about it. I mean, culture is the key to any of these top companies to work for, and I think it drives with the internal strategy across the board, right? It's not something you just say culture is important. It has to go from the top to the middle all the way to the bottom. So that's just awesome that you guys are that concerned about it, aware of it, and run your business towards it.
I mean, just to add a little bit more to this, Jamie, and I mentioned that, we live our culture, we live our core values every single day. I have never been into a team meeting, even my own staff meetings or company senior leadership team meetings, that we don't either at the beginning of the meeting or at the end of the meeting share core values about the people, that work for us. So it's not something that you can skip. There's always something that you really appreciate about the people you work with, and we always recognize that in our events. So it's something that we are really, really proud of.
That's awesome, and that leads to the next question, right? How do you guys leverage cloud to deliver your services, and if you can, as you're talking through that, kind of link it back to, as I know you will, and back to kind of that culture part of it.
Absolutely, Jamie. So we leverage cloud in three different ways. You've heard the terms infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. So at TaskUs, as an organization, we always think cloud first. Our focus is always on what we need to do to drive the business forward. We don't tangle ourselves up with let's go figure out what is the best thing out there. Let's see how much it costs. Let's do the bidding our focus is really on how we can get to market really fast. So when we build services, we always think cloud, and most of our infrastructure today is built in the cloud. And our developers and innovators, they are always looking for how they can get to market really fast. Their focus is really on data. Their focus is on their application. The last thing they want to focus is on, the infrastructure and what they need for them to be successful. Platform as a service is something that we always try to consume, so our teams can continue to focus on innovation and moving the business forward. And anything else that we can consume in the cloud, we do it. Our email is in the cloud. Our CRM systems is consumed in the cloud. I can't think of anything, at TaskUs, that we don't consume in the cloud. We probably have one application that we created ourselves, that we use in our own cloud instance, right? So it's also hosted in the cloud. So as an IT organization, our focus is on three areas. One, great technology experiences for our teammates. Two, becoming a true extension of our clients and provide them with unparalleled experiences. And three, continue to contribute to the success and the growth of our company and shareholder value. We are probably, and this may surprise some of the listeners here, we are probably one of the few, if any, in the BPO industry, which is the call center industry, that does not have an on-prem phone system or even a single telecom engineer on staff. Our infrastructure in our data centers is mainly to power up our network. Everything else is either consumed in the cloud or hosted in the cloud. It surprises a lot of people that we talk to, and sometimes, clients, but when they do need telecom services from TaskUs, they get the best in class.
And I got to imagine that helps with scale, right? You could sign up 10 more clients and it's not oh boy, I better start a whole nother process here.
Absolutely. So if you can go to the next slide, Chris, I've always said, if you go cloud, you just never go back. Why do you want to go through the hassle? Why do you want to continue using, aging technology? Because it takes a lot to lift and shift it or to change it. If you go cloud, you never go back. And cloud, for us at TaskUs, enabled us to be able to scale dynamically. Allowed us to respond faster to dynamic spikes. Without cloud, it would have been harder to keep up with the demand that we have and the growth that we see on a very regular basis. I mean, sometimes we get requests that if I'm not in the cloud, there is no way I can keep up with it. Increased our ability to innovate. Resources are always available when we need them, regardless of location. So whenever I need hardware, it's there. It does reduce our operating expenses. And this is something that sometimes you don't see it, but I know if in your own data centers, I don't think anybody can go to their data center and say, you know what, I'm not using the server today, let's turn it off. And I will get back to it and turn it back on when I need it. Let's save some power or let's save some cost. You couldn't do that in your own data centers. And if you're a company that's innovating and developing all the time, you are going to be needing, those servers for periods of time when, you have your team working on it. But when you're not, you turn it off and you don't pay for CPU, you don't pay for memory, you don't pay for any of that stuff. And, the minute that you're ready to use it again, you start where you left off. So that's an area that you cannot do in your own data center. So it does reduce. So you can reduce some of your operating expenses, by following some pretty good practices. And I'll get more to how you can really save more money in the cloud than being on-prem as we go through this presentation here. But cloud also kept our focus in the right areas and helped us be more strategic thinkers and business enablers. When COVID came about, if I wasn't in the cloud, I don't know how we could have dealt with it. It would have been hard. It allowed us to focus on the right things, and it allowed us to get to market really fast because we are already there. Improved our employees' mobility, allowed us to work from home, services available no matter where our teams were at. So you could be in the Philippines, you could be in Mexico, you could be in the US, you could be anywhere. You can still get connected and contribute to the success of our company. And cloud increased our strategic value with our clients. We're not limited to a technology that ages very fast. We all know that on-prem technologies, they get old really fast, and it takes a lot to replace them. A lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of effort that can be well spent on driving your business forward.
And you say once you go cloud, you never come back. It's kind of funny because you're talking about going in and shutting a server off and doing that, and obviously that's from personal experience. If you think back in your past career, the agility that you did not have that you do now, it's just like night and day, right? Your ability to respond and do things quicker compared to past life unless you were in a cloud first company before. It really emphasizes the word agility.
It is, Chris. It allowed us to be really nimble, really agile, being able to move very fast without any second thoughts. Everything is out there and available to you. You just need to use it. And that's how we got through, a lot of the tough periods that we've gone through since March. But again, that's how we continue to grow our business and innovate and continue to add more value back to our teammates and to our clients.
Yeah. So walk us through that. Sets up the next question, right? COVID hits March, you get the call, Sam, we're shutting the Philippines down, everybody has to go home. Walk us through what happens next.
Well, when I got that call, I was sitting exactly at the same chair here. And I remember, the conversation that we've had, and I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised being a people first company. What came to mind was, let's make sure that our teammates are safe. We will figure out the rest later. We've been there. We could do this again, right? So March 16th, that's when the governments around the world started implementing nationwide lockdowns as a response to the growing COVID-19 pandemic. Our priority as a company was our teammates, health and safety. The goal was to send our employees home to be safe with their families. COVID-19 is a test on how companies are committed to their people first, people-friendly claims. We've heard stories about companies locking down their agents sleeping on the floors. It was all over social media. Can't make this stuff up.
Many tethered to their desk, right?
Well, it's hard, right? When you're committed to delivering a service and you can't provide because most likely everything you've got was on-prem. It was hard. It was not an easy thing. I did not want to be in their position, right? Many companies also resorted to layoffs in order to become financially stable. Our goal was to ensure all of our employees are able to earn and work from home. while the rest of the industry scrambled on how they can bend lockdown in positions and leverage government exceptions to keep their business up afloat, TaskUs was one of the first global companies to send our teammates home, and probably the first one in the industry. There was no second thought about this. It was, we got to get them home. This is who we are. That's what we're all about. We can't deviate from that. In a record speed, we were able to transition majority of our teammates to the work from home environment without sacrificing our client requirements on information security and customer confidentiality. The impediment of both the people first commitment and culture of ridiculously good innovations, TaskUs established on March 17th, our newest global site called Cirrus. We built a program, a complete program, just at the beginning of the pandemic around work from home. And the Cirrus is the TaskUs answer to the ideal at home solution. That was a cloud-based, 100% global site that provides industry-leading support to you and your customers without sacrificing any of the quality, culture, transparency, expertise, and skill that come to define us over the years. In just 7 days, 7 days from its implementation, 90% of our clients believed in us, and they signed off on this model. And ever since we put this model in place, we were able to support over 1,000 of our clients, using VDI, for example. They signed up to want to be on the VDI platform. We rolled out VDI and VPN access, to more than 5 countries. We leveraged, the multi-factor authentication. It wasn't something that we said we'll do later. We continued with our Chrome books, Chrome boxes, Dell PCs model. We built a 24/7 program to support our teammates using any channel that would fit them, the most. And we kept our SLA at 99.996%. Nothing changed. Wow. Nothing changed for us. Whatever we did when we were on-prem, we did it just as good when we moved our workforce, from office, to home.
That's incredible. So when this came up, what options did you guys consider? You kind of mentioned a little bit, but just want to kind of reiterate it for some of those folks. It's, we're sitting here, you get that call, we got to send them home. I thought what was interesting when we had our pre-call, you said, I knew it was going to be cloud related. Why not some of the other VDI solutions or traditional VPNs you probably used in the past?
Well, like I said, we were in AWS, and that's the cloud platform that we chose, for TaskUs. And WorkSpaces was already offered in AWS, and it gives you the same experience, that you would have if you were using a PC or Chrome or Linux, whichever platform you choose. So it was easy for us, to make that call, and I'm glad we made it. Yeah,
no, for sure. So you get what now, kind of to get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Talk about how InterVision got involved, and then how did the teams work together to kind of go solve this?
Well, I'm going to say that InterVision was our winning ticket. It was really the best call we made. InterVision was new to TaskUs, but I have already had a history with them. I've tapped into InterVision services on the infrastructure side, the networking side, and the security side mainly in my past experiences, working with InterVision. I never really thought of cloud, when I thought of InterVision, because, most of my experience, working with them was mainly around network security and infrastructure. Yeah. So Jamie, the quality of the work that you guys provided to us, to me, not just at TaskUs, but in my previous employments, was really second to none. And the truth has to be told, right? So InterVision was left an impression no other vendor in the industry was able to do. They are true professionals. Entering a project with InterVision, the goal was always satisfying their client. That's the only thing they had on their mind. And they would flex. They would give you pretty much anything that you would need to be successful, and they always went above and beyond. At the end of any project, not only they get the work done, but they also make sure they hone my team to be experts on the job. They sit down with my people. I mean, they just don't say, and I walk in, get the job done, and walk away from it. They literally sit down and they work with you. They show you what they do. Every step of the way was documented. Visios, documentations, to the point where my team felt that they have a partner that they can count on, a partner that they can trust, and they can learn from as they go. So whenever I think of networking or security vendor, InterVision is always at the top of my list. It has become effortless on my part to pitch them to my team, because their credentials and the successes are more than enough, right? And they always earned not only my respect, but also my team's respect and my peers and my colleagues' respect. When I joined TaskUs, we needed a networking vendor. Here we go again, right? We needed a networking vendor to support us on major initiatives, major challenges that we were having. Obviously, they were the first to come to mind for me. They quickly got on board and finished the job. As always, they left my team with an impression that was second to none. And I'm going to use the word again, the truth has to be told, right? The project involved sending our teammates to work from home, so this is the call that I got. I got that call from our CEO saying that we need to make sure that our teammates, when they get home, they have a way to get back online. And that was a prompt call made by our CEO, Bryce Mirak. The goal was to make sure TaskUs teammates were safe at home with their families during the pandemic. He trusted that we, especially the IT team, will be able to figure out the logistics and the rest. I think a lot of you been in positions as such, and a lot of you can also claim that a request as such is a very tall order. Prior to that decision, luckily, we kind of felt something maybe happening based on what we saw going on with the disease itself. And so my team and I were planning VPN connectivity to teammates in anticipation of work from home setup. I was in the Philippines at that time. I was in a meeting with my team, and we were just talking through this very casually. And we said, 100% of our workforce is working from the office. What if? Let's take a look at our VPN and make sure that it's functional. It can scale. It can work for us. We were able to provide, our teammates with VPN access, but that was not enough. We needed to plan for additional VPN capacity, and some of our clients, we were hearing that they're demanding VDI. So in an environment like ours, we're very distributed, and our firewalls are in every building. And you just don't know if you really have enough capacity, because things do change, when you work from home, and you may need more people, and things there may be more demand. So we weren't sure if what we had would be good enough to keep us going and allow us to grow. And since we are a cloud first company, our attention was fixed on cloud VPN, like the Palo Alto Prisma Access. And since we are in the AWS cloud, we thought to use, like I said earlier, AWS workspaces. But Jamie, we had no expertise. We had good thoughts, right? We're in AWS. VPN cloud is great, but and VDI is great, but how do we get this stuff mobilized? And we are working against the clock.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was your biggest challenge, right? You had days to do this.
Yeah, it was just kind of I know what I want, but how do I get there, and how can I help myself? I knew for sure that I needed to call InterVision for the infrastructure piece, right? We knew that they are the best when it comes to firewalls and networking and security, and the Palo Alto VPN to them would be second nature. So I knew I would be in good hands there. I made that call, and I said, "Hey guys, this is what I need. I really need some help, and we are running against the clock. I am looking for that company that can help me, and we need to start today. I can't start tomorrow. So whatever we need to do, let's see how we can make this work, make this happen." And the conversation just dragged a little bit, and I mentioned the word VDI, I mentioned the word AWS, and of course, my favorite account manager at InterVision said, "Sam, I thought I mentioned this to you in the past. We are an AWS shop. We're a premier partner. We do it best. You should really, consider us for the rest of the stuff that you're trying to accomplish." And I tell you, you can't imagine my relief, when I knew that InterVision can help me in both. It would be an easy conversation to work with a company, a single company, to talk about firewalls, to talk about networking, and to talk about enabling services, because they all have to talk to each other. You don't want to be that middleman, trying to coordinate with multi-trades, to make things work. If InterVision could do this for you, and they could do it really well, and my past experiences proved that they can deliver if they said they would, I signed up. We were still running against it.
I was going to say, you can't get a better endorsement than that. I think partnerships go both ways. So, on behalf of us, appreciate that. I think it takes two to tango. It takes, two different companies to have the right set goals to work together to make it go fast. So, while we, love the endorsement, I think it's also, says a lot about you and your organization that you guys can respond and go fast, right? I've had oftentimes over the years, I've had people say to me, what's holding us back? And it's like, you get to a point where you finally have to say, you're not going to like the answer, but it's your team, right? Like our teams being able to work fast means that's got to work on both sides. So, thank you for having that type of team that's willing to lean in and work together, because otherwise you're going to get stuck on one side or the other.
Yeah, I tell you, Jamie, if I were to kind of just share one more thing about that experience, we signed up. It was, like I said, we were working against the clock. Our teammates are home. We want to get them online really quick. I don't think you would, and you just imagine the stress, right? You can't imagine the stress
Sure.
that, myself and my peers, had, thinking not only, I wasn't thinking about my job or worried about my job. I was worried about the 20,000 jobs out there and how we can get everybody back online really, really quickly. And, working with the InterVision team, it almost felt like just a walk in the park for us. We work 24 hours a day, and we work 24 hours a day for 4 days. We would send, each other back and forth to get an hour rest or 2 hours rest, and keep going. We had no stress. We were tired a little bit, but we had zero stress. Everything was just moving forward. Every status update I gave was, we're on target to get this thing done on time. we're on target to get this thing done on time, and we got it done. And I think we got it done ahead of schedule. So that was phenomenal for me, right? So definitely appreciate all the help you guys gave us.
Yeah, and I do. I know that the team worked the same way with us, right? So Mark out there, and Kevin and Paul and Scott, a lot of people that were involved were updating all of us on it as well, because we knew it was a critical time for you guys. So thank you for adding that component. As you look forward here, describe those benefits, right? So somebody's out in the audience and says, hey, we're okay. We're up and running now. We've got some remote workforce. We hadn't thought of workspaces, but we're using a classical or maybe more of a traditional VDI we've used for years. Kind of tie that into your responses, how you guys are going to look forward to going forward with this solution.
All right, Jamie. So VDI had a huge set of benefits for us, and of course, when you work from home, it's a game changer, right? So it provided us with flexibility, and really enhanced our flexibility. You can get to the TaskUs desktop from anywhere securely. You don't have to worry about this anymore. So you could be using pretty much anything to be able to access the TaskUs desktop securely. Accessibility can get to the virtual machine using thin client, mobile device if you need to, laptop, desktop, whichever tool available to you at that time. And we had a major growth during that period. I mean, TaskUs saw a growth that was unprecedented during COVID, and I'm sure the industry was also in demand for more of those machines, desktops and laptops, and so if I couldn't be picky and choosy, I needed whatever I can put my hands on that will allow me to get to my virtual desktop, and so VDI allowed me to do this without having to worry too much about the medium. Manageability. Like night and day, right? Instead of managing thousands of images and OSs, we had to manage just a single image, and we were able to push that image, and have people get access to it, without the pain. And if we needed to do patching or updates, it made our job easier because we're dealing with it from a centralized standpoint. Security, again, the way it was built, where the experience for us was 100% like if it was on site. So we have strict rules that we have to follow. Our teammates can only do so many things with those machines and have certain access, have certain controls available to them on the machine. So we were able to do all of that. With the VDI solution that we offered our teams, and cost very predictable. You know what your cost is. If you're passing the cost onto your clients, it's 100% predictable and easier to manage. And it freed up our resources. It really freed up our resources to go focus on taking care of our teammates, taking care of our clients. I mean, all of us, when we went, home, we went from managing 18, 20, 30 offices to 20,000 plus offices. So if you can free up that workforce, you want it to be freed up so you can actually go and take care of the things that matter the most in the office versus the underlying infrastructure.
Yeah, well said. I mentioned that yesterday. We had another CIO who said the same thing. I had 400 offices, now I have 18,000 offices, meaning people, right? So saying almost exact verbiage you used. So talk about, now that you've got it up and running, how have you optimized that, your workforce, over the last 6 months since then?
Well, Jamie, for us, it's all about trust. Trust both ways between us and our teammates, and IT and the rest of the company. It's all about, making the proper investments, to allow us to do things, at scale, and continue, to make sure that our teammates, are able to have that work-life balance. You never want to be in a situation where you just got to keep them going because you're unable to keep up with the volume or the technology is failing you. So at TaskUs, we pride ourselves in putting our people first. There has to be trust when working with teammates who do work from their homes. We trust our people that they will deliver what needs to be done. Trust goes both ways. Our teammates know that they have 24/7 support in all aspects, from technical needs to personal needs, such as mental health. Likewise, supervisors keep a close eye on teammates. There are regular online meeting checkups, aside from strict schedules for which they have to religiously log their time. Nevertheless, flexible schedules are provided to teammates who have sudden emergencies or need to attend to personal matters at home, such as taking care of their children and their families. Our serious framework of working from home, investing heavily in technologies such as desktop and laptops, which our teammates were allowed to bring home. Investments were also made to ensure that data of clients were secure, even with teammates working from home. Beyond the technical and security aspects of managing a remote workforce, the challenge of keeping a personal touch to work relationships remained. That is why it is ingrained in our culture to make sure that employees receive feedback and hold regular mentoring sessions with their managers. TaskUs has rolled out, one of my favorite, Connect 15 platform, which randomly connects two TaskUs employees for a serendipitous 15-minute Zoom conversation. So I actually had three 15-minute conversations just yesterday with our teammates in the Philippines. And, just like you have those hallway, conversations, or you come across somebody in the cafeteria, we tend to just connect randomly with people and get to know each other, get to see how we can help each other, understand their goals. I spoke with a teammate yesterday and their goal to be in IT. They wanted to, find a way, to get themselves into that space. And, it's a pleasure, to work with people like this, that have those ambitions and those big dreams, right? So it's really great. So since shifting nearly all of our global teammates to work from home in response to the COVID pandemic, TaskUs has rolled out the new work-life balance commitments, like meeting-free Fridays, no chat weekends, and the requirement that everyone take a long week vacation without checking their emails. And I remember, that call that we got from our leadership saying, there's a sheet here you need to go fill out. Please let me know when you're going to be gone for a week. So it's really great. You don't get this often, especially during busy times and busy days. So the well-being of our teammates and our employees, it's really, really always, top of mind, fortunately.
Yeah, clearly, it's very clear. You're going to probably get an influx of resumes of people on this call want to join your company because that's some pretty cool stuff you guys do. And I got to imagine your eNPS scores have gone up. And a lot of companies probably can't say that during a pandemic.
Yep. Yeah, our NPS scores are something to be really proud of. Really proud of. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, that's great, and that's the true serum whenever it comes to tough times, right? So, and culture drives that. So that's just cool. So where do you guys go from here with your remote workforce? What are you thinking about down the road?
Well, this is almost like cloud. When you go cloud, you just don't go back. When you appreciate and see the value of remote work, definitely for us, remote work is for here to stay. So Jamie, as a cloud first company, TaskUs has the agility to respond to the needs of both its employees and its clients to take a people first approach. Cloud made it easier for us and continues, to make it easy for us. This approach helped us provide a work culture that is far ahead of our competitors. We talked about the stories of people sleeping on the floors in their own companies just to keep things going, right? They couldn't send people home. They kept them in the office, and they really did not, in my opinion, do what's right, for people. And cloud, for us, helped us deliver on our people first promise. And so the cloud first approach will always allow us to continue to be responsive to events like COVID going forward. And a good percentage of our workforce will continue, to work from home as we enter 2021 and beyond. We want to be the number one leader in this space. And we believe that the platform that we put together, the Cirrus platform, is here to stay and will allow us to be the number one work from home provider.
Yeah, I think you're definitely on your way. I've got, Chris, I think that was our last. Are there any questions? I have some questions. So do you want me to go first, or you want to?
Yeah, well, just a couple of things. I do have one question that came in, but, oh, excuse me. But also, we had one of our attendees say that they did look at your website to see what jobs you had open right now. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I did have a question related to how do you keep your staff up to date on cloud technologies? Do you have any training, or how do you make sure that your staff can embrace all this new technology that you're providing them?
Yeah, so for me, Chris, you get the most, and you learn the most, when you attend events like this. When you go to, in the past, remember those big summits and the exhibitions and meeting with exhibitors and VARs, and you get the most knowledge, of what's out there in the marketplace. And we encourage our people to attend those sessions all the time. As a matter of fact, I see some of my team members on this call today. And also, when it comes to training, we rolled out, and actually we have been working on this for a while, and it's going to get rolled out this quarter, a complete training and e-learning department focused on IT. So we will be partnering with our vendors like yourselves, to bring those classes, to TaskUs employees. And we always encourage also our teammates, to take control over their own, career paths, and let us know what they need for them, to be successful as they continue to grow in this industry. So we take different paths at this, and our conversations with our vendors and our partners is daily, right? So we're constantly learning new things.
Awesome, thanks, Sam. Yeah, Jamie, I'll turn it over to you with any other questions you have.
Yeah, I just. One of my questions is, a couple questions. One is, how are you and your team measured, right? What are your KPIs? What's the quarterly thing you look at to say, hey, we're on track to doing what we need to do?
So if one of the big KPIs for us, is to make sure that whatever we do in IT, the impact to our teammates is as small as it possibly can be, right? So we have to look at it from, is there a lot of tickets coming from our teammates? If there are a lot of tickets coming from them, then something is not right. So if I'm able to bring those tickets way down, that means I'm able to give them, a platform to make their day easier, and therefore, make our clients, days even better, right? So we measure ourselves by, how successful we are delivering services, world-class services to our teammates. And just to give you an example of what we do, right? So let's say I'm going to go ahead and roll something out to production, and and there's some involvement or needed from our agents, our teammates. We take this into so many steps, right? We come up with the material, we take it through the proper channels to make sure that branding is looking at it. Yep, it's easy to understand. People will be able to relate to it. We have those sessions with teammates, to walk through this and make sure that it's user friendly. We create videos, animated videos, to walk them through what that document does say, in case they, like to see things from a different perspective. So we try everything that we can, to make sure that our teammates are getting the best service. And if that KPI is good, we're good.
Okay, that's a good one. And then this one kind of came out a little yesterday. I got some feedback, some of the participants, and they said, and I'll ask it to you, and put yourself in their shoes, middle manager, not a VP, not a CIO. Given what you know now, what you've dealt with in your past life, what would your recommendation be to them to get their buy-in, to get their CIO, their CFO, and the people to start thinking cloud first? Like, how would you recommend they approach that?
Yeah, well, I got to tell you this, if you were to look at cloud as on-prem, you're not going to be able to get this past your CIO. So going to cloud is a different path. It's not, I found infrastructure in the cloud, let me go use it. So it's really not the case. You want, to, if you're going to build your infrastructure in the cloud, you really want to follow the well-architected cloud design. And you really want a partner, to work with you on this, because you're not going to get it right the first time. You're just not going to do it. So when I joined, TaskUs, we were already in the AWS cloud, and we were using it, and it was annoying to see our cost continue to grow, right? And if I had to do this on-prem, I would impress my CIO, and he would be much, much happier. So we really engaged with our partners, engaged and looked at the whole thing, and we said, you know what, we're not doing things right in the cloud. We should not be leveraging the cloud in that fashion. So when we got it into a state where it's well architected, tagged correctly, you understand the services, that you have in the cloud, and you understand the options, to optimize the usage of those services in the cloud, your cost will go down dramatically. And at that point, you will start to see that going on-prem is not such a great idea. It's not such a great idea. And it takes a lot of overhead away from you once you go down the cloud path. So it's not a difficult case to justify if you're working with the right partner, or if you really understand yourself what it takes to do it 100% right.
Now, a great answer. It aligns with what we were having the conversation yesterday of it's a methodical approach, right? You have to really well architect it out. It's not just, add a room to your house, add another room, add one here. In the end, you look back at it and you say, whoa, what did I just build? Or now it's more confusing. So I'm glad you agree there, because I think that is critical. And Chris, I think as we wrap here, Sam, I knew about the story. I knew what you guys did. I didn't have the in-depth part of it. I always say that, I love stories. I love telling them. When you tell your family member about TaskUs and what you did, who's not in the industry, you've come across something that's pretty cool. And the thought of, and I'm not sure which one's first, I get a little confused. Is it we were cloud first, which allowed us to be people first, or we were people first that made us go cloud first? At the end of the day, both are synergistic, and both give you the agility to respond to something you don't know what's going to happen. You didn't sit down and say, let's be cloud first because a pandemic is coming around the corner, so therefore we're going to send everybody home. You said, we're going to do this because it gives us the agility and scale, and it allows us to respond to whatever the business needs, whether it's a big client or, you know, a client morphing or us adjusting. And I think people know that about it. I think people have heard the stories of Uber and what they've done to taxi, you know, and Netflix, like that's been, you know, probably overplayed. But I think what you brought was the story of a real life example of culture drives everything. Culture drives you to think about your business and your process. And it also allows you to stay competitive and allows you to drive for a long time, right? I know when we talked in our pre-conversation, where do you think all those competition wants to come work now, right? So you guys have, you know, you've set yourself up for the future. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming in and having this conversation and putting a lot of thought and time with it. I know you've got the fun budget stuff. We were just chatting about that. So you got a lot on your plate, but I appreciate you and your company and your team, the partnership, but also the effort put in to, you know, help the industry, help your peers. So thank you.
Thank you, Jamie and the team for allowing me to participate during the summit here. Thank you so much.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks, Sam. Yeah. So one of the things that jumped out at me about that story too is just, you know, the fact that Sam was used to working with InterVision on the infrastructure side, and as he came to know our cloud capabilities, you know, it was a relief for him to be able to bridge that gap with one partner. So, you know, for those of you who are on the line today who only know InterVision on the infrastructure side, you know, let's start the conversation around what we can do to help you with your cloud journey. But definitely, I had actually one more question I did want to touch on here that came in for you, Sam. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. He's referencing a study where it says that people take work from home seriously at first, but then that there's trends that maybe productivity is going down over time. Curious if you've seen anything like that on your end. You know, I know at InterVision, we've been hearing a lot about how our productivity is actually up, but just curious if you've seen anything, like how you measure that, or, you know, if you've seen anything similar there.
You know, in our industry, and this is something also we see in our own reports, you know, work from home, it actually, it changes the way you look at the workplace, you know. So for us, you know, it's always been, you know, work in the office. And the minute that we transitioned our workforce, you know, from the office to home, and we were able to get people connected and giving them everything that they need, it's really kind of how you treat your employees too, right? And how you engage with them on a regular basis. You know, so what they're giving us back is a whole lot more. We see more productivity, you know, coming from work from home, you know, than, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that our productivity was not great in the office, but we see the commitment, right? You know, we see it, and this doesn't come on its own. It comes, you know, because of the engagement, you know, that we have with our teammates. You know, we talk to them all the time. You know, we're always interacting with them. We're always meeting and discussing. You know, we try to make the environment feel like if they were still in the office. You know, we have events, you know, many events on a regular basis that we do to keep the engagement going. You know, so we did not really see, you know, I mean, I tell you myself, you know, I've never worked harder, you know, being at home versus being in the office. You know, I mean, it's, you know, but I tell you, our teammates also got a lot of time back, you know, especially those that live in the Philippines, because traffic in the Philippines is so terrible. You know, so sometimes it takes about 4 hours to go back and forth to work.
Wow.
All that time is really given back, you know, to their personal lives and to their families. You know, so I think work from home gave a lot more balance to work life, and also, you know, it didn't change anything for us, really.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. One other very quick question. What was the name of that tool that you used for the serendipitous meetings? We had an audience member ask.
Oh, no, so the tool that we use is just a simple, you know, WebEx, Zoom session, whichever, you know, tool you have to interact with your teams. You know, so it's a random meeting that gets scheduled for you. You know, so there's a team out there that actually does schedule those meetings for you randomly. and all of a sudden you see a meeting on your calendar that you have to go and attend to.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
You just have no idea who you're talking to, right? Somebody, if you came across, in the hallway in the past, great. If you did not, you're gonna get to know them and meet them for the first time during that meeting.
Very cool. Yeah, we should implement something like that here, I think.
It's actually great.
I like it.
It's one of the best experiences. I mean, I just love to talk to our teams, love to kind of see what's on their mind. Sometimes, you get to ask a question about areas that you want to hear from them direct about the technology, for example. How is this working for you? It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's a very good 15 minutes, and they go
very
like
simple, easy way to keep it like you said. That's the part you like about the office. So that's cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, we're just a little bit past time here, but I think this conversation certainly merited it. I'm going to keep things rolling, though, in honor of our agenda here. And just a quick plug for one of our sponsors for today's event, Cisco. InterVision is a Cisco Gold partner, and we work very closely with them in our mission to help our clients accelerate their cloud adoption journey, but also to keep that journey secured. So thank you so much to Cisco for helping sponsor this event today, and we certainly appreciate your sponsorship and partnership. So moving on, I'm going to pass the presenter control over to Kevin, and Kevin's going to be talking to you about securing and optimizing remote work enablement. And Kevin has really been leading the charge for InterVision, and I know he's worked on dozens of implementations of our remote work tools with AWS. And he's really, he's our senior director of engineering here at InterVision, and he has a very client-driven focus to applying technology and tools to help organization achieve the business outcomes thereafter. So, Kevin, I'm going to turn things over to you, and really looking forward to your conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for that introduction. Well, welcome, everybody. And as it says on the slide, my name is Kevin Barker, and I'm a cloud practice leader here at InterVision. And one of my key focus areas is assisting companies in developing and implementing remote enablement strategies. And I'm going to spend about the next 30 minutes talking about why this is becoming so important across the workforce today for both the public and the private sector organizations, and how AWS and InterVision can assist you in taking on this challenge. So just to check, Chris, no problem with seeing my screen?
All good, all good. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, no problem. So we've all seen the changes in work habits even prior to COVID-19. It seems today that our customers and coworkers span multiple time zones. And I don't know about you, but when I get on calls, I don't know whether I should say good morning to people or good night, because it depends on where they live, and half the time I don't even know it. And so today, even before COVID again, we've got work from home going on. We've got working from an Airbnb or the lodge at the local ski resort where we're hanging out for a half day playing hooky. And the pandemic simply accelerated that change as we saw a wholesale shift away from the 9-to-5 commute that many of us still engaged in, as these enforced stay-at-home requirements were implemented by governments to try and mitigate the impact of the virus. And this really led overnight to a change in the need for IT to deliver a work from home environment that equaled that of the corporate office or the school classroom on a scale we've never seen before. And Sam really described that well when he talked about what this meant to a company like TaskUs. And so from an IT perspective, the challenge is we've got to now deliver data and application access as seamlessly as possible, but understanding that what's being delivered still needs to be protected. And security needs to be even tighter, because many times the tools being used to get to this data, the companies have no control over it, right? The endpoint compute device might be an old computer that who knows what else is being run on it. And so how do you protect that information? In addition, with the change that COVID brought forward, that information really needs to be there 24/7, because your employees are working at home, the students are at home. And their schedules, they can't necessarily be 9 to 5 because they're not only juggling work, but they're juggling their kids, they're juggling family members that they may be caring for, and dealing with other time pressures as a result of all these changes in 2020. What's interesting to me, though, is that this isn't going to change. Gartner's done some analysis, and as the statistic here shows, they say that almost 75% of organizations plan to permanently shift to more remote work post-COVID-19. I mean, I don't know. I personally looking forward to going back to the office. I'm tired of hearing English lessons being done over Zoom in my living room when I'm trying to conduct a meeting. But I understand it's going to be moving even more to this balance of working from home, working from the office. And IT needs to react and deliver solutions that help to support that effort. And I really love this quote on this slide. This is from the VP of IT of Robert Half. He was speaking at a CIO session that we put on after the COVID virus hit, and we were starting to work through what the impact of it was. And it really illustrates the problems we face, right? They went from 400 offices to 18,000. And again, as I mentioned, data and applications now need to be available on a global basis, anywhere, anytime, any place, because that's where our employees are. But we've still got to secure it like it was, as if access was limited to people sitting inside the four walls of our office, behind our firewall, with our segmented switches, or sitting in a classroom, again, where the data is controlled. And we've got that added challenge of having no control over the endpoint device that's being used for that access. So many of us look and we say VDI is an obvious solution. I'm really not sure if there are many companies out there that haven't done some form of a VDI implementation. But VDI's got its own set of costs that exist today. And obviously costs of purchasing and upgrading the hardware, physical infrastructure, the software licensing, but we've also got to look at these intangible costs, especially with the fact the need to ramp up like we're dealing with as a result of having to shift so much to work from home. So what's the impact on our IT staffers who've now got to deploy and scale up additional VDI systems and support the massive demands from this new work requirement, in addition to still dealing with all the day-to-day, supporting the back-end servers, the databases, the network that delivers all of this, and the rest of the IT functions. None of that goes away, but we're asking them now to take on this additional extraordinary workload of supporting, in the case of Robert Half, 18,000 offices. So how do we fix the problem? Well, we talked a little bit about the need for remote enablement, and we just talked about some of the challenges surrounding it. What do we do about it? I'm going to get into that in a second. And the short answer is, of course, the cloud, because that's what we're here to talk about. But before I do, I just want to comment on a couple of things that we've learned as InterVision. So I want to talk about some of the lessons learned that have come to us over the last few years as we've worked with a lot of different customers walking down this cloud path. And there's three key areas I want to touch on. And these really have nothing to do, or they have a lot to do with remote enablement, but they really have to do with any cloud implementation that an organization takes on. And on the finance side, you really need to go into cloud with an understanding of what your costs will be. And circling back to remote enablement, it's really important to remember that you may not even be considering cost savings as an initial goal if you start down this journey, because you've also always got to look at long-term. If you're going to do remote enablement, you're forced to, in this COVID era, to really expand the amount of remote desktops that you're delivering. And your costs are then going to go up in the short term, regardless whether you go on-prem or cloud. But it's incredibly important that you look at the differences in costs between expanding an existing VDI solution versus going to AWS. So then when you look at the long-term advantage of AWS, As you reduce hardware, you cut out licenses, you eliminate server refresh cycles. By moving to a cloud-based delivery model, the advantages become pretty straightforward and obvious. And also what needs to be remembered is, especially with models that are pay-as-you-go based, is you've got to determine your baseline costs and then make sure you put in place the tools that are going to allow you to validate that you're staying in your lane cost-wise and you're not dealing with cost creep. So from a security perspective, how do you maintain your existing level of security and compliance, right? Organizationally, you've got this in place. You deliver applications to the desktops within the office or within the classroom. But when you would move to cloud, you get a whole new set of challenges, and it requires the adoption of new tools for logging, auditing, threat evaluation, remediation, and you've got to bring those tools into play. And what are they going to be? Are they going to be native AWS or marketplace tools? Or are you going to migrate your legacy on-premise Palo Alto firewall to the cloud? Or do you want to look at some center ground where you have a balance between native versus legacy because of the familiarity of your own IT staff with legacy solutions? So these questions need to be asked really upfront and then answered every step of the way through the cloud journey. And then operationally, you face some of the same challenges as with security. You know, it was great. I commented right at the end about moving to cloud and how it's not necessarily a good thing if you just pick up what you have and shove it up in there. Because a successful move doesn't mean maintaining status quo, whether that's a performance or uptime or whatever operational metrics your organization uses. You really benefit when you have a cultural change and you deliver transformational results that mean the service level that you put forward to your end customers is far greater because you've examined how you can leverage cloud to change how the business operates. So that's just a couple of points about the cloud migration as a whole. And now shifting back to this issue of remote enablement, the thing that we're seeing is that we've got a paradigm shift going on for remote work, remote learning, remote training. And we can't ignore it. So we've got to get behind it. We've got to wrap our arms around it. And how do we do that? What's the most effective way to take this change, embrace it, and leverage it to improve the business? Well, we have a program here at InterVision called Digital WorkSpaces, and this is our answer to addressing this paradigm change that we're experiencing. And what it does is it allows our customers to quickly and securely scale out remote desktop and application delivery solutions to their customers, or internal customers, external customers, at a very significantly lower cost than a traditional VDI solution. So we're a premier AWS partner, and as a result of that, our processes for migrating and simplifying desktop delivery to the cloud helps to ensure that our customers can support remote user needs at a reduced cost and without really laying that massive overhead and burden onto their existing IT staff. And so our workplace offering, our digital workplace offering, consists of the Amazon WorkSpaces and Amazon AppStream 2.0 platforms that I'm going to be talking about, combined with our unique service offerings, which we built around a combination of our 20 years of classic data center experience, combined with our deep bench of our AWS experts and our proven development methodology for implementation purposes. When it comes to our expertise in AWS, as I mentioned, we're a premier partner, we're a premier consulting partner, and we currently have 6 competencies, including migrations, DevOps, storage, government, education, and really importantly to this conversation, the AWS digital workplace computing competency. So now I'm going to talk about what are the solutions from a software and cloud perspective. And this is going to be a deep dive into the AWS workspaces and AppStream tools. So workspaces, this is AWS managed desktop as a service solution. And with it, we can deliver Windows and Linux desktops in literally minutes and scale those up to provide thousands of desktops on a global basis. So from a functionality perspective, what do you get with Workspaces? Well, it delivers the desktop that your employee or student would get at their environment or at their workplace or school, but with numerous advantages versus traditional on-prem or VDI. Number one, when we're talking VDI, you don't need to manage giant VM server farms or the license pools that go with it. And a lot of times those don't get used, right? You've got employees that work 9 to 5. So you're paying for software and hardware that sits idle 18, 16 hours a day. So you can avoid that with a workspace solution. And obviously that also means you can avoid upfront capital expense, and you avoid the complexity of managing and maintaining that hardware inventory, the operating system, the constant patching that goes with living and loving a Microsoft environment. Then from the client side, right, the individuals that are consuming this, Workspaces totally supports the BYOD, or bring your own device model. So cloud desktop support today for Workspaces is available on Macs, PCs, Kindle Fires, iPads, Androids, Chromebooks, and then also just through traditional web browsers like Firefox or Chrome. Then AWS delivers this using a technology called PC over IP. And this protocol is what pushes out the data streams to the devices that are consuming it. And this allows all of the data to remain in AWS or in your on-prem environment, meaning you got a really tight security posture and you're not letting data leakage occur through the delivery vehicle. This means that it's very easy if your organization has compliance requirements for like HIPAA or PCI to stay compliant with those. And then of course, Workspaces also integrates with your existing Active Directory or your single sign-on or your multi-factor requirements so that you can go ahead and use your existing tools and rule sets to control access. In addition, if you've got an existing Windows desktop license scenario where by moving to a remote environment, you've got unused licenses, if you choose to, you can leverage those licenses and generate additional cost savings if it makes sense for you. So when it comes to the deployment side, AWS provides some fantastic tools that allow you to really quickly develop and implement customized desktops. And these desktops can be mapped right back to the organization's requirements. And the Workspaces instances that are delivered to the consumers of this are done on a per user basis, pay-as-you-go model that is available either as a monthly or an hourly basis, depending on your requirements. And the image types that you can deliver are also very, very scalable and flexible, right? Because if you're delivering Microsoft Office 365 for people that are consuming that product, that's very different than the individuals that are running high-end CAD systems. So being able to create images where you've got control over the number of CPUs and the memory and the storage and the video GPUs means that you deliver the right sized image that gives the performance needed, but also does it at the least costly manner. So you can deliver the images, you cost them and size them appropriately. And then one other thing for Workspaces, which is interesting, is that from a licensing perspective, AWS will also let you deliver images that have built-in software bundles. For example, Microsoft Office already pre-installed, reducing again that time to deploy. So that's one major solution that is available from AWS, which is the Workspace solution, which just flat out replaces VDI with literally no downside. But in addition, AWS also offers what is called, sorry, my computer has decided to freeze. There we go. AppStream. And AppStream is a different beast than Workspaces. This is a fully managed desktop streaming service. And the focus of AppStream is on delivering applications which are consumed through an HTML5 browser. So this means, again, you can deliver applications to any device that runs HTML5. That's obviously pretty much any computer out there, or Chromebooks or iPads. If it runs HTML5, it's a device that can be used with AppStream. But more importantly, besides the delivery element, being application focused means that we eliminate the complexity of remote desktop access, and we have a very simple, very clean user interface that we present to the consumer, which allows the focus to be really just on the applications being used. The applications are centrally managed, and everybody using AppStream is given their own individual private VM instance, which generates consistent performance of the applications running in that VM. And of course, like Workspaces, AppStream integrates with Active Directory, single sign-on, two-factor authentication solutions that are already being used in your organization. And then, again, because these applications are being streamed, there's no data storage on the remote devices, which gives you really tight security. Even things like data transfers are controllable within the central administration console of AppStream. So you can say, I don't want anyone to be able to cut and paste from this application to their desktop. Or maybe I want them to cut and paste from their desktop to the application, but not the other way around. So AppStream also leverages the key AWS technologies like auto scaling and scheduling, and of course, pay-as-you-go pricing. So this allows for the delivery of the AppStream instances for consumption on an as-needed and when-needed basis, and provides for very granular cost control as a result. Now, AppStream has been around for a while, but what's really interesting about it was with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen an unbelievable surge in AppStream adoption, especially amongst educational institutions and municipalities. So K-12 and colleges and universities are using AppStream to deliver both the traditional back office solutions like student enrollment systems and finance, but even more importantly, they're using it for remote learning. So today with AppStream, schools can provide their students with things like Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom or AutoCAD for 2D and 3D design study. And with schools across the nation being shut, and I was just reading how there are some school districts that are saying, we're not reopening until 2022. This means, how do you deliver the ability for students to learn on things like AutoCAD? Well, AppStream makes that happen for them. And a lot of these schools didn't have a VDI infrastructure in place. It's just not something that educational institutions need much of. And so AppStream provided an immediate entry point into remote learning for these schools at a very low cost. And of course, combined with InterVision doing the delivery, it also meant they were able to spin this up incredibly quickly. So AppStream can support pretty much any modern application out there, from high-end graphics for 3D to image editing, down to running Office 365. And again, we scale the instance size and compute power to the requirements of the application being run. On the commercial side, as we heard from Sam, they went right to workspaces. And that makes a lot of sense because organizations already have, in most cases, implemented VDI. So the move to workspaces is a really straightforward jump. But AppStream has a lot of benefits in the business world, again, because of the advantages of it, allowing for simpler application delivery, costs are often lower, licensing costs. So I was talking with Sam at TaskUs about this a couple days ago, and he was saying they're now going to circle back and develop kind of a bifurcated strategy where they're going to use workspaces where it makes sense, and then also use AppStream where it makes sense, and they can drive some cost and create some usability simplicity on a go-forward basis. So one other comment I'll make on AppStream, our discussion today is really all about remote enablement. But I'm a big fan of AppStream, so I talk to customers about it a lot. And there are some other use cases you may find of value. Besides the whole remote access piece, which is our discussion here, for our employees or contractors or students or even customers. AppStream also makes a really cool delivery vehicle for testing or demos. So if your company has a product and you want to showcase it for allowing customers to try it out, or you want to get feedback from a software beta program you're running, AppStream is also a terrific solution for that. So now, from a use case perspective, I want to just spend a couple of minutes talking about one of our clients. So Sam did a great job at TaskUs of describing how they implemented workspaces and what it allowed his organization to do in such a short period of time. Well, one of our customers, Mount San Jacinto College, and they're a Southern California, a 2-year institution, and they faced a similar challenge during the early stages of COVID. And their immediate problem was, what do we do about application delivery for their employees? And so before they even addressed the student piece, they needed to get their employees back up and running. And the apps that mattered couldn't be accessed via a web browser. And so basically the campus was closed from the perspective of the faculty and the staff getting their work done. And they were an existing customer, and we had a really good, solid relationship. So they turned to us and said, what can we do to fix this immediately? And the challenge was they had 5 applications that they had to get up and running. And one of the older apps that was absolutely critical had RDP limitations, which means they couldn't use a remote desktop solution. They couldn't use VPN. They had to look at something new, and AppStream was the solution. And what we did was we built out a greenfield AWS implementation with a VPC for AppStream, another shared services VPC where we handled authentication and authorization pieces, a transit gateway for connectivity, the needed security groups and ACLs, and then we also implemented CloudWatch and CloudTrail so we could make sure that there were no issues from a monitoring, auditing perspective, and everything was running well. Then, most importantly, we work with their IT team and representatives from the faculty and staff to set up the auto-scaling and auto-scheduling policies to make sure that we were optimizing the performance and the availability of this, while also, again, limiting or making sure our costs were controlled in a really granular manner. And so from the time they approached us, within 2 days, we had the key faculty staff members who were part of our proof of concept team up and running, accessing the applications remotely and doing their job. Then we worked with the rest of the team members that were part of our project team. And in 2 more days, we trained over 300 employees on that campus. And we had the entire staff and faculty up and running, using these apps back in business in less than 5 days total, start to finish. So really showed us and Mount SAC the power of this application, AppStream, and the power of the cloud. And as a result of that, one other really cool outcome is they're now looking to leverage our expertise and further their core mission of migrating pretty much everything they can to AWS as quickly as possible. So I want to walk through a high-level implementation here. So we talked about the need for remote enablement solutions that AWS has to offer. And so how do we implement this? And what are the key components of doing it? Well, this is an example implementation. It's based on AppStream, but it's true for workspaces because they use pretty much the same AWS environment. And the key points here is that we've implemented AppStream and workspaces for many clients, and we follow a standardized process, and we use automation tools like infrastructure as code to deploy this environment. So we deliver high availability through things like multiple availability zones, auto scaling, transit gateway, and scheduling to make sure that customers get the applications that they need when they need them, and that they're always there regardless of time of day or locality. So the architecture is actually pretty straightforward, and going to move from right to left. And on the right side, we have our shared services account. So that's our shared services VPC, where we put things like Active Directory or Active Directory connectors or single sign-on components. In the center, we have the connect points back to our customers' data center or perhaps to the Azure cloud because that's where they're hosting their AD. And then on the left side, we have our AppStream VPC where the application lives. In this case, we show that we've got 2 availability zones for high availability to keep it up and running around the clock. Now, in terms of implementation, the key thing is step number 1, discovery kickoff. AppStream and workspaces are actually pretty simple to get up and running, but the devil's always in the details. And the details here are really, what are the applications we're deploying and what's the environment that's being wrapped around the app? So how is authentication done? Is it Active Directory? Is it Google Directory, which is very common for schools? Is it AD hosted in Azure, which means we have a multi-cloud environment? So we define what we're implementing, and then we wrap our processes around it so that we're able to get this stood up and move from POC to production in, like with Mount San Jacinto, in a couple of days. So from a cost perspective, the conversations when we have that we have with customers, we always get that question, what is it going to cost me? And I'm not going to drill into this slide, but I put it up as a representation of what we do when we talk with and work with customers. So what we're showing here is one of our cost modeling tools that allow our customers to get a real deep understanding of this piece of the enablement puzzle. So what we've got is, in this case, it's an educational institution that they are moving to AWS AppStream for remote delivery of things like Microsoft Office and in this case, Banner, Blackboard, which are some of the back office applications. And how do we cost this out, understand what it's going to cost them, and then compare it to what it would cost if they were to look at other alternative solutions, like standing up their own VDI instance. So this is a tool that we use and we model with all of our existing or our potential customers that want to understand going into this, what's it going to mean financially? So as I mentioned earlier, we use the phrase digital workplaces to refer to our remote enablement practice, encompassing the AWS solutions, workspaces, and AppStream. And so I just want to do a quick recap of the benefits of AppStream and workspaces. And they're pretty straightforward. I mean, one, again, with both solutions, users can access the desktop applications they need at any time. If it's AppStream, we stream those applications in a secure, protected environment, and we can do that to pretty much to any device that can run HTML5. With workspaces, we can do it to pretty much literally any computing device out there. Both AppStream and workspaces are fully managed and hosted on AWS, which means that we've got our data secured, whether we host it or keep it within AWS or we go back to on-prem. It's not available for access from the endpoint compute device that's used to run AppStream or workspaces. And then the tools allow you to deploy them either globally as needed or locally here in the United States. It doesn't matter. The availability is 24/7 and locality no longer comes into play. And of course, one of the biggest advantages is that it reduces costs because you don't need to buy desktop and laptop resources. You don't need to stand up high-end VM server farms, license them for the 24/7 environment that you may need to run in, or pay for a 24/7 license that you only use 8 hours a day. So that's just a couple of the reasons, again, why workspaces, why AppStream, and now, again, why digital workplaces from InterVision. I think by now I've probably made the case for AWS, but why InterVision, right? We understand that you could try and stand this up yourself. It's, like I said, actually standing up AppStream just by itself isn't that hard. It's all the stuff that you've got to wrap around it that makes it challenging. And you've got your choice of partners out there, but why InterVision versus another AWS Premier partner? And there's a few key points. One, as I mentioned, we've got decades of data center experience. So we understand how to secure access to applications. If you're running them in your data center and you want to deliver them via AppStream, we know how to do that. We also have years of experience with implementing and supporting traditional on-premise VDI solutions, which means we can take a look at what you're running now and very quickly and efficiently pick it up and migrate it into a workspaces environment running in AWS. And because of that data center experience, we've got tremendous depth with networking and security. And so we work with them all: Palo, Juniper, F5, Cisco, NetApp. And so we know how to look at, move your data, migrate your legacy tools if it makes sense. You want to put them in the cloud. And then we've got deep experience in hybrid operations where we integrate and tie together on-premise environments, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, multi-cloud environments. We know how to tie them all together and get it done very quickly. And then finally, of course, we are one of the select group of AWS Premier partners that have both the end user compute competency and the migration competency. So that's the nickel tour of Workspaces and AppStream. And I think you might be able to tell that I got a lot of passion around this stuff. I love it. I think it's game changing for organizations. And so if you'd like to learn more about this, reach out to us. I personally would love to have a conversation with y'all about this. And thank you for allowing me to present this to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. So real quick, as we're making this transition here, a question related to the TCO. Kevin, can you talk a little bit about where you see some of the bigger savings in the TCO process, typically when you're doing this observation, this analysis?
Yeah, I absolutely. So when you look at TCO, especially when you look at it from a VDI perspective, again, I do have to stress, you're migrating from one to another. And that's why your TCO has got to be done, not just looking at your immediate cost of moving into the solution, but where am I going to be 6 months, a year from now? And so hardware acquisition, spinning this stuff up, you have an environment like Sam's or like Robert Half, where you are going to be now having to deploy 18,000 desktops, right? We sit down with customers and we analyze exactly what it is they're spending in their, let's say, VMware VDI environment. What is the per desktop cost to deliver that? And then we break that out and compare it to what it's going to cost to deliver that via AWS Workspaces. And can tell you pretty much in every instance we've been involved with, unless they've got a brand new, just bought out of the box VMware implementation, and it scales perfectly to what they need user count wise, the TCO validates that they're going to be able to save money going forward. With AppStream, where we've been looking at doing this, especially in the educational institutions, this is a new environment for many of these schools and campuses. So they need to understand exactly what it is that it's going to cost them today, and what this then means when they look at refreshing their campus labs that they use to deliver AutoCAD or Photoshop and Premiere Pro, so that they can plot out a clear path forward cost-wise.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for that. And please keep your questions coming in, and we'll spend a little time here as we're closing things out, making sure those get addressed. But to keep things moving here, and thanks again, Kevin, for that presentation. I'd just like to take a moment to say thank you to another one of our sponsors here today, NetApp. For those of you who aren't aware, InterVision is a star partner and cloud-first partner with NetApp, and we work very closely together with NetApp to provide a flexible line of hybrid cloud storage solutions that help meet the business objectives of our customers. So again, big thank you to NetApp for all you do in our partnership. So first things here, guys, is for those of you who want to learn a little bit more about our cloud portfolio and our approach to cloud adoption, I would please ask you to reach out to your sales representative if you work with one today. You can get the conversation rolling right away. And there's lots of different ways that we can approach this first touch. We can perform an AWS Immersion Day. We're certified to dive in deep on the technical side and really get into the weeds on security or networking, or really any aspect of your cloud adoption that you're finding to be challenging today. Or we can take a step back and perform what we call an EBC, which is really that executive briefing center where we talk about the business challenges that you have, what your goals are, where your risks are, and how you're trying to achieve that through the technology and bring our best talent to bear to help you see those goals. So an EBC is another great way to engage with InterVision on, it's not a big commitment of your time or a big commitment financially, but it can really help get the conversation going and connect the dots between our capabilities and what your goals are as an organization. So if you do have a sales rep, please take a moment to reach out to them if you have any questions, and they'll be sure to get things set up for you. If you've never worked with InterVision in the past, we do have a representative named Deborah Hatfield, one of the nicest, most helpful people that you'd ever hope to meet. And she'll be reaching out to you early next week with an opportunity to connect with one of our cloud experts. And if that's not quite fast enough, you can always contact us on InterVision at intervision.com through our contact there. And we will be more than happy to get back to you typically within 30 minutes or so to get the conversation rolling.